people want to ask me questions about how I operate my business. And so I thought I would just go ahead and put together a little video here talking about some of the realities of doing business, particularly on eBay and Craigslist. So the first thing I want to go over is I've compiled a list of the 6 most common questions that I get asked from potential buyers on eBay. The very first question on the list, the most commonly asked question is, what condition is it in? Now, in order for you to understand why this is ludicrous, I want to show you a sample screenshot of one of my eBay auctions. Now, you can see that I provide a minimum of 6 pictures, and I'm very specific that these are actual pictures of the computer that is for sale and not just some random stock photo. And yet they want to ask me what condition it's in. I really don't understand that. I also list a textual description that they can read about. If there's even so much as a scratch on the computer, I'll make a note of it. And they want to always ask me the condition, and I don't know what to tell them. So my response is always, please refer to the photos and the description in the listing. It may sound rude, but I don't know what else to tell people besides what I've already provided. Alright, the number 2 most common question that I get asked on eBay is, does it work? Yeah, even though I say that it works in the listing, I even say it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, they still want to ask me, does it work? And again, I'm kind of left clueless, and I get this question every day, and I just tell them, please refer to the warranty information in the listing. I don't really know what else to tell them. I mean, I guess people just don't read. I don't know. So, the third most common question that I get asked on eBay is, will you take X amount? Or they'll say, I'll offer X amount for this laptop. Now keep in mind, we're dealing on eBay. You either bid on the computer or you click buy it now, or you don't. That's the way eBay works. But at least once or twice a day, I receive an email with somebody making some kind of offer. And it's usually very low too. Like if the product is being advertised, buy it now, $400, they'll offer $200 or something like that. And I usually just ignore those. Or sometimes I'll just tell them, the price is whatever, take it or leave it. And you know, I don't want to be rude, but chances are that person's not going to buy anything from me anyway, so why do I want to waste my time on them? So, the 4th most common question that I get asked, and this one will probably take you by surprise, because it certainly did me when I started my business. The 4th most common question I get asked is, will you send me a laptop for free? Yeah, and they always accompany this with some kind of sob story about, oh, my mother's in the hospital, or I'm a poor college student, or whatever. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a funny story about that. One time, I think it was a young boy or adolescent, he had asked me if I would give him a computer free. And I wrote him back very sarcastically and I said, wow, yes, of course I will. Just give me your address, because that's how I stay in business, is by giving laptops away for free. And I thought that he would understand the sarcasm there, but to my surprise, 10 minutes later, I got an email response from him with his address saying, oh, thank you very much. Here's my address. I'll go tell all of my friends. And then, not more than 2 or 3 minutes later, I got a flood of email from probably 10 other people saying, oh, I heard you're giving away free laptops. Here's my address. And I had to write the boy back and tell him I was being sarcastic. I can't give away laptops or I would be out of business in a week. My profit margin's already very thin on these. I just do not have the ability to give them away. So, the 5th most common question I get asked is, people want to know, will it run Program X? Program X could be anything. It's always something different. It's usually some program I've never heard of before. And so basically what they want me to do is they want me to Google that program, find out what its system requirements are, how much RAM it needs, how much hard drive it needs, what kind of processor it needs, what kind of operating systems it needs, and then find out if it matches up with the computer that I'm selling them and make them some kind of guarantee that it's going to work. And I just won't do it. It's too much trouble, and if they're not capable of doing that themselves, they're probably not a customer I want anyway. So unless it's a program I'm intimately familiar with, like if they call up and say, well, will it run Skype or something like that, then I'll tell them, but 9 times out of 10 I have no idea. And I don't know why they would even think I would know, but And the sixth most common question that I get asked on eBay is not a one specific question. It's a bunch of questions I'm going to lump into one category. And they want to know a specification of the computer. They want to know, does it come with an optical drive? Will it play DVDs? Does it have, how much memory does it have? How big is the hard drive? All of these things, of course, are listed in the ad. In fact, they're usually listed in more than one place. In fact, in most cases, like stuff like the CPU and memory, are listed in 3 different places. And they just don't want to read, so they'll just send me an email and ask me that question. And, you know, sometimes they think I'm rude, but I'll go ahead and respond and I'll answer the question, but I'll also mention in parentheses this information was provided in the listing. I did also manage to at least alleviate one of the problems. I used to get asked a whole lot if it would play DVDs. Now, even though this was listed in the text, I went ahead and made it a point to start taking photos of the computer with a DVD sticking out of the side. And believe it or not, that almost entirely eliminated the question of if it has a DVD or not. Apparently, a picture really is worth 1,000 words. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about the 4 most common problems I have on eBay after a transaction. The biggest problem by far is simply non-payment. People, they click buy it now, or they bid on something and win it, and then they don't pay for it. And that is such a common thing. In fact, I would venture to say probably about 10%. If I sell 10 laptops, guaranteed at least one of them will not pay for it. And I've also composed a list of the most common excuses for not paying for it. Believe it or not, the number 1 most common excuse used in non-payment of a laptop is they've been in a car wreck. I mean, there must be a lot of car wrecks because I have probably heard this excuse at least 100 times over the last 5 years. Of course, I suspect it's fake, it's just made up, but it sounds good, and that is definitely the most common one. And so when I hear that somebody's been in a car wreck, I pretty much dismiss it immediately. I know they're faking it because there's just too many of them. The number 2 excuse for not paying for an eBay item is that my son or daughter bought this computer without my permission and I'm not paying for it. And I've probably heard that excuse at least 50 times over the last few years. I could honestly see that being true on rare occasion, but I just don't think that it could happen nearly as often as what I see. And the number 3 excuse is simply that they've changed their mind. And sometimes they're quite honest about it. Oh, I found a better deal, or I decided I don't want a Mac, I need a PC, or whatever. And they make no bones about it. They just don't want it, which that's a complete and total violation of eBay policy, but they don't care. And of course, the 4th most common thing I get is nothing at all. They just don't answer. I'll send them repeated emails asking if they're going to pay for the item and just never hear from them. So that's, I guess you could say, the number 4th response is no response. Now, back to my list of actual eBay problems that I encounter. One of the problems I have is people who change their mind about a computer after they bought it. I mean, it's one thing to change your mind before you pay for it and just not pay for it, but it's worse when you pay for it, you've had it delivered, and then you change your mind. And I've had people do that before because they found out it won't run some program they want it to run. But believe it or not, the most common reason, in my opinion, for wanting to return a laptop has been overpayment. In the past, I used to do auctions where people could bid on the laptop, and particularly around Christmas time, the bidding would get out of control. And I would have a laptop that normally sells for $400, in many cases sell for $600 or $700. And so I had to put a stop to that and switch to buy it now. Now you might be asking, well, why would that be bad for me? Why I should like having overpayment for laptops. I'm the seller. Well, really I don't, and the main reason for that is because people want to return them. I do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. You know, that's part of the way I do business on eBay. So anytime somebody overpays for a laptop, well, they usually realize it a few weeks later after they finally get their head together and realize what they've paid for and what it's really worth. And so then they'll come up with any kind of excuse to return it and get their money back. And of course, returns are a huge pain in the rear for me, both just the amount of paperwork, and I don't mean real paperwork, but the procedures and stuff I have to do on eBay, and moving the money around and getting stuff shipped back. When I get it back, I have to unpack it. Sometimes it's damaged, and I have to wipe the hard drives and reload them because I fill them full of junk and whatnot. So it's a huge pain. I avoid a return at any cost, and so if I think overpayment is going to result in return, well, I don't want overpayment. So I switched all of my auctions to buy it now about 2 years ago. And I just put a reasonable price on the buy it now, and if it doesn't sell, then I lower the price by $10 the next time around, and it usually will sell. And that's how I've solved that problem. And as far as people who've changed their minds go, there's the nice ones who just make up an excuse to return the laptop, like, oh, it won't run what I need or something like that. But then there's the ones that can be absolute jerks about it. I've had people literally file complaints with eBay or PayPal to return something without even contacting me first. I'll give you a good example of one that happened just recently. A guy in my local city bought a laptop. He paid for it, and then he said, well, I don't want you to ship it. I want to do a local pickup because I live here in town. And that's fine with me. I do that all the time. Well, I sent him an email with the address where he can come pick it up, and I told him I was here waiting for him, and I never heard from him. The next day, I sent the same copy of the email out again, and I did that again and again and again for 6 days. And on the 7th day, I got an email from PayPal saying that a dispute had been filed over non-delivery. So I called PayPal and they said, well, yeah, the buyer says you haven't delivered the product. So I copied them on the emails and explained to them what was happening, so they contacted the customer. And then they called me back and said, oh, well, the customer just said he changed his mind. He just doesn't want it. Now, the funny thing is here, PayPal knows this. They know that I'm in the right and the buyer's in the wrong, but they still told me I might as well go ahead and give him his money back because he's going to get his money back one way or the other. And one of the realities of doing business on eBay and PayPal is that eBay and PayPal invariably takes the side of the buyer. Doesn't matter what's happened, the buyer always wins. The only exception to that I can think of is when the buyer doesn't pay. If they haven't paid, eBay will take the side of the seller. But if they've paid, doesn't matter what happens, eBay always takes the side of the buyer. And that's the reality of doing business on eBay, and it's unfortunate. Okay, so I've also done a lot of business on Craigslist. And so I thought I would tell you about some of the issues that I've encountered dealing with people locally. When I post up a computer on Craigslist, believe it or not, the most common question I get asked is people will call me and they will want to know, what's the price? How much do you want for this laptop? Now, one of the problems with answering that question is I usually have more than one listed. I'll either have several different ads, or I'll have one ad that has maybe 5 or 6 different laptops with their photos, their specifications, and the price for it right next to it. Now, the price is listed all over the ad. In fact, it's even listed in the header of the ad when you're scrolling down Craigslist looking at the individual lines. So you can't miss the price. But people always call and ask me that. And since I don't know exactly which computer they're talking about, I have to ask them. I say, well, look, sir or ma'am, I have several different ones up on Craigslist right now. I don't know which one you're talking about. I'll be happy to give you the price, but you'll have to tell me which laptop it is. Now, the funny thing about that is the very first answer I usually get, which I think is hilarious, is there'll usually be a response like, oh, well, it's the one you have listed for $350, or something to that effect. And so I'll pause there for a second. I go, oh, well, I guess the price is $350. And then they always seem like dumbfounded, like, oh, so that's your price, huh? I'm like, well, yeah. So I've had that conversation so many times with so many different people. It's hilarious. I don't know why they do that. I mean, maybe they're thinking I'm going to give them a different price when I answer the phone. I'm not sure. But I'm usually very specific in the ad about what the price is and that I'm non-negotiable on it. I have very thin profit margins on these computers, sometimes as little as $20. So I just don't have any room to negotiate like that. And I make that very plain in the ads. So it's kind of a take it or leave it type thing. On that same regard, I've had people come to my place of business from across town. They'll drive 50 miles, show up after we've already discussed the laptop and we've already discussed the price. And they show up, they look at it, and they want to offer me less money. Sometimes it's only $10 or $20, but again, I told you, my profit margin is $10 or $20 sometimes, so I don't have a lot to move there. And I'll tell them no, and they'll get furious with me, say, I drove 50 miles across town to come over here to buy this. And I'll be like, well, you knew what the price was on the phone. We agreed to it before you came all this way, and I've had them storm out and not buy it. It's like, what do they think? They think, I know I wouldn't drive 50 miles across town to buy a product that I'd already discussed the price on under the assumption that the seller is going to reduce that price when I get there. That's crazy. But I've had them do it. So, the number 2 question I get asked on Craigslist is actually very similar to a question I get asked on eBay a lot. They want to know the condition of it. Now, I have the same photos on my Craigslist ads that I do on eBay. They're very clear, very sharp photos from multiple angles, in focus, brightly lit. They can see the condition, but they always want to ask me about it. Now, I could understand if they thought it was a stock photo or something, but I'm also very specific. These are real pictures of the computer that you'll be getting. Nevertheless, it's very common for them to ask me to text them photos. Oh yeah, will you take some more photos of it and text it to me? Of course, my answer is no. That's just too darn much trouble. I'm just not going to do it. I've already provided anywhere from 6 to 10 photos of the unit. I'm just not going to go out of my way to take any more. And that's just the way I deal with it. Sometimes that makes people mad. Maybe I'll lose sales over it. I don't know, but I just think it's ridiculous to ask for more photos when I've already provided 6 to 10 clear photos. So, am I crazy or are they crazy? You tell me. And my final gripe about Craigslist, which is something anybody ought to be aware of if you're ever thinking about selling anything on Craigslist, is that when somebody says that they are coming to pick something up that you've agreed upon, and you give them the address and they say they're going to be there in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, there is a 50% chance they will never show up. And they will not call you back and tell you that they changed their mind or they've made other plans. They will just let you sit there and wait for them until you finally give up and assume that they're not coming. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 50% chance. And I've had them do it to me, not just on laptops, but on even personal items that I'm selling that are not necessarily part of my business. I mean, I've sold iPhones and iPods and bicycles and even cars. I've sold on Craigslist, and it's the same thing. It doesn't seem to matter what it is you're selling. 50% of people will say they're coming and not show up. So you just better be prepared for that. So an irony about the no-shows, though, is it's not terribly uncommon for me to have a Craigslist buyer not show up and then call me up 2 or 3 days later and ask me if I can do MacBook repairs. And I'll say, sure, bring it on over. And then I'll ask them, it's like, didn't you call me a few days ago saying you wanted to buy a MacBook? And they'll be like, oh, I was going to buy one, but I found one, $20 cheaper somewhere else. And of course, the one they bought didn't have a 30-day, money-back guarantee like mine does, so they bought one that doesn't work. And then now they want to spend anywhere from $50 to $100 to have me repair it. And they would have been better off if they just bought mine to begin with than trying to save a few bucks going to some shady person somewhere and buying one. So I guess karma kind of gets them a little bit on that. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on this video is I get a lot of personal emails from people on the internet who've seen my videos and they've got a computer and they're having a problem with it and they want my help. Now, believe it or not, I'm fairly charitable with my time and I will actually answer a lot of those emails, but it's not uncommon for me to get anywhere from 10 to 100 emails in a day asking such questions. Now, I don't answer them all, and I'll tell you which ones I answer. I'll answer the ones I can read in less than 30 seconds. Now, I'm serious. I mean, if I look and I've got a bunch of emails and I have a whole bunch of them that are like one paragraph or 2 or 3 sentences asking me a question about something, I will typically answer those. If I get one and it's 3 pages long and they want to tell me their whole history of how they got this at a garage sale or their grandmother gave it to them and they used to play this game on it and they loved it so much and they let their kids do this and they take it with them on vacation and they just want to go into all this erroneous detail that is not really relevant to their question. And so I just don't have time for that. I don't want to be rude about it, but I just really don't have the time to read all of that information. So I usually just hit delete. And, anybody who's a celebrity, I'm sure, I'm not really a celebrity, but I'm just giving an example. Anybody who is a celebrity, I'm sure gets the same problem, only, 100 times worse than what I have. And so I would just say, when sending anybody an email that you don't know, you need to keep it short and sweet. If you develop a conversation going over something and you add more detail as it goes, that's okay. But I think when you're sending somebody you've never met before an email, you need to keep it short. And because I just don't have the time to read life histories in order to answer a simple question about, how much memory a computer will take or something. So yeah, the ones I usually answer are stuff like, oh, I have an iBook G4. Sorry about that. It's like, oh, I have an iBook G4, 1.5 gigahertz or something like that. How much memory will it take? Well, I usually know stuff like that off the top of my head. I'll just shoot them a quick answer. Or if they say, hey, I've got this problem with my, iBook or my MacBook, and 9 times out of 10 I've experienced it before, and I'll shoot them a 1 or 2 sentence reply telling them, sending them on the direction of how to fix that. So just an FYI, if you ever send me an email, please keep it short and sweet. Thanks.